Hey, it's James from 4x4 Earth and welcome to episode 34 of the 4x4 Earth podcast, four-wheel driving and track access with Ron Moon.
Join James from 4x4earth.com as he learns all there is to know about four-wheel driving, camping, fishing and getting out and exploring our great country on the 4x4 Earth podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're continuing on with our interview with Ron Moon. So we're going to continue talking about the international four-wheel driving that he's done. We're then going to look at some of the track access issues that we've got in Australia and what we can do to be able to ensure that we can continue accessing the tracks that we love and also that our kids and our grandkids can share that track access. So let's get back into it as we head over to the United States. I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it. The number of places, the number of campsites that you've got that are next to a river, and, you know, the further in you go, the quieter it is.
Yeah.
And often you can roll out of your tent in the morning and be doing a challenging track, you know, within 10 minutes of leaving camp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that, mate. No doubt at all about that. So, it's great. So, and I mean, it is different. I mean, it's different to our desert country, and I love the Flinders Ranges and that sort of thing. And I must love Cape York if I've been there for 40 odd times. And the Kimberley's much the same, and the Pilbara and all that sort of stuff. And they're all great destinations that really should try and get into that Victorian high country. And I guess thinking something entirely different, one of the best coastal runs is that trip from Espence across the Streaky Bay around the Great Australian Bight, and that's a 2-week trip basically, and that's a fabulous trip. But I wouldn't do it on your own. I wouldn't recommend it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. So many times, we were at Robe a couple of weeks ago, and the number of people who were out travelling by themselves and people who got stuck by themselves and were just relying on the kindness of strangers driving by to get them out of some fairly colourful places.
Yeah,
there was one guy who got stuck, and he'd only had his vehicle a couple of weeks.
Yep.
He was up to the axles in it. He wasn't going anywhere quickly, and the tide was coming in.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I've been plenty of times down into Robe, and there's some challenging beaches down along that southeast coast of South Australia, and people wander down there and they don't lower their tyre pressures. Or I remember coming across I think it was a troopy, hadn't even put their freewheeling hubs in. I don't think they knew what freewheeling hubs were, but they soon found out when he had the tide washing around his back wheels, and he was starting to panic.
Yep.
And so you meet people like that along the way, and.
What was South America like? I've been to Argentina and Iguazu Falls before. It's got some spectacular scenery. I would have thought they'd have some amazing four-wheel driving there. How did you find that?
What, in Africa?
No, South America. Argentina.
Oh, South America.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I guess when you're travelling the world, you don't go looking for trouble, that's for sure. And I remember we were trying to get into Pantanal, which is down in, it's a huge swamp in southwestern Brazil, covers an area the size of Belgium and the Netherlands, together. It's a huge place. And we were trying to get in there, and they had a huge wet season. And we were driving through water that was up to the top of the wheels for about 5 kilometres. 5 or 6 Ks, and I think after 5 or 6 Ks my nerves gave out. There was a little farmhouse propped on a little hill, and we went and spoke to him, and he just indicated through his Spanish and our English, and he indicated by sign language that the water just got deeper as we would go further. So we turned around and went back. So I mean, you don't go looking for real super tough tracks. You find enough anyway as you're trying to get through to different places or whatever it may be. But, I mean, there's obviously some fantastic four-wheel driving there, and we want to go back to Brazil. And I mean, Brazil's bigger than Australia, so you don't see that in 3 weeks, mate. And, I guess we had about 5 weeks in southern and southwestern Brazil.
Yep.
And we were really limited on where we could go because of the wet season. That's why we ended up going into Bolivia and spending a lot more time in Bolivia. and driving the death road and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. Once again, you got this fantastic scenery, and I guess it's because here in Australia we haven't really got big mountains. I mean, they're hills at the most, and you get into a place like South America and suddenly you're confronted by 15,000-foot mountains and mountain passes that wind up to 12,000 feet and drop back down again, and even higher. I mean, we got to 16,500 feet, 5,000 metres on one pass in Bolivia. I mean, you don't jump out of your car and go and run and play footy, I've got to tell you that.
No, when you're that high up, it slows you up a bit.
Breathing, mate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a fabulous continent travelling. We love South America. We spent 9 months down there, and we met people who had actually been in South America wandering around. And we met this German couple that spent the last 30 years travelling the world by vehicle, and he'd spent the last 9 years in South America. Yeah, just loves it.
Beautiful scenery, and that is one of the things, if the high country was a little bit higher with a little bit bigger mountains. What about New Zealand? Have you done much in New Zealand?
Yeah, look, I've done a little bit. I've been over there shooting a few training videos for Mitsubishi and stuff like that, and going back a few years now. But yeah, we've done a little bit over there. I haven't done as much as I'd like. And I mean, the South Island is fantastic. There's some good four-wheel drive tracks down there, and most of them on private land, so you sort of need to have a contact or a guide or whatever over there. Yeah, there's a lot of tracks on private land down that way.
And and we come back to the high country again. This is one of the things that really sets it apart, is that you've got all of these amazing tracks and access to them is free. The camping is often free, and there's so many places in the world where you don't have that opportunity. Yeah,
well, I think you can congratulate the Victorian Four-Wheel Drive Association on that, Four-Wheel Drive Victoria. They've worked hard and really got a great working relationship with the government and whichever government's in power, and with the parks and the parks people. So a lot of that can be laid at their feet, a lot of the honours for that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we have, New South Wales has got some fabulous high country as well, but it's all closed off, and there's only a few tracks you can use. So you get the major tour operators like Great Divide Tours bringing people down if they want to experience the high country. They bring them down into the Victorian high country because we've got this fabulous array of tracks. Some are easy and some are hard, and they'll have a lot of in between. And you can get up onto some magnificent hilltops. I mean, classic tracks like Blue Rag and Mount Pinnabar and that sort of thing. I mean, there's no better scenery in Australia than from the tops of those mountains.
Do you think there's much opportunity in four-wheel drive tourism to actually improve access to places like the New South Wales high country, beaches in Victoria?
You would like to think so, but I think the die has been cast, and what we've got is what we've got, and what we've got to do is protect that to get other areas opened up. I don't think you'll see very much of that happening in New South Wales or Victoria. I think the public pressure would be too much on that. You may see it in other states, and I think Northern Territory is probably doing the best of any state in that regard, of opening, realising that four-wheel drive touring is a great tourist attraction and will bring in tourist dollars.
Yep.
And they're doing a lot of work in that regard.
See, because one of the things we've spoken about Robe is a happening town. Like, there's new infrastructure going in there all the time. The businesses are clean, vibrant. There's a lot of people there. And it's interesting. So I was there on a long weekend. Every second vehicle had a sand flag.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real secret that the prosperity of Robe is built on the money that four-wheel drivers... And, we had a fair contingent of Victorians go across there.
Yes, you always do.
You spend a fair bit of coin, you go out, you eat meals, you buy your grog, you buy your fuel, you do all of those sort of things, and that money goes into the town and it goes round and round and round. It creates prosperity for everyone. Yeah.
Well, 25 years ago, 25, maybe 30, I ran a very controversial cover on the front of 4x4 Australia with a Range Rover on its nose in a sandhill and road. at that time, there was the Greens were trying to close off all the tracks along the beaches, north and south of the road. And I got dragged in on that debate, so-called one of the hoons of forward driving and all that sort of stuff. And I went to Robe and put my case in front of the national parks over there. And what saved the day, without a doubt, was the support from the business communities of Robe. And they got behind the four-wheel drive tourism, and that's paid off without a doubt. And while I'm not going to go as far to say that it's the mainstay of Robe. Robe's a busy little fishing port and all that sort of stuff, and has become quite a trendy little place as well in recent years. But certainly four-wheel driving and the money that brings into that community is phenomenal.
I think it's a trendy little place, though, because it's a nice place and it doesn't look run down. If you look at the Victorian coast, there's plenty of nice little coastal towns with moderately strong fishing industries, but there's not a lot of economic activity there. And it's not the kind of place where you would go and, have a good time. They're not really tourist destinations.
Yeah, I guess one thing Robe has got on, and that stretch of coast between the border and Robe is that, it's the closest place for Victorians to go forward driving on a beach somewhere.
Yes.
So they don't only get a lot of South Australians going down the Robe, they get an awful lot of Victorians going over there and enjoying that place. And it's a magic town. I mean, it's a wild, the coast is wild. I mean, you've got to say, on a windy day and a big surf day and all that sort of stuff, it's a pretty spectacular place with the surf breaking on the rocks and all that sort of stuff. So it can be a wild and woolly place, and the forward driving can be really challenging, and especially after some big winter storms. But yeah, it's a great place to go.
It is. It's good fun. It's great fun. What do you think the future of four-wheel driving in Australia is going to be? Given everything that you've seen and all of your experience, where do you think we're heading?
Well, I mean, it's certainly a vibrant industry at the moment, and touring with a four-wheel drive and a camper trailer or a caravan behind you is right up there, and it's never. I don't think it's ever been busier. You go up to Kimberley's or Northern Territory or North Queensland in April, May, and there's this big stream of camper trailers heading north to Cape York or to the Gulf Country or to Arnhem Land or the Kimberley or the Pilbara or whatever. And then in October, November, there's this flood of people coming back to get away from the heat. I don't think I can see that changing very much in the next 10 years or so. I think it'll probably get more appealing to a lot of people. I guess the cars are getting softer, the vehicles are getting softer as a general rule, but the roads are getting better, and even the dirt roads are getting better. Going out to Birdsville is no big deal. Going up through the Pilbara is no big deal, really. Certainly an SUV can do most of it without any great drama. And the same thing with the Kimberley. I mean, unless you go looking for some specific tracks, and there's not too many tracks you can do in the Kimberley that, sadly, but the Gibb River Road is a song these days. I mean, bloody hell, you could drive a Toyota Camry along that most of the time.
Which is sad, because it really does take a part of the excitement, the challenge out of doing some of these tracks.
Yeah, well, look, yes, that's true, and we just got to go looking a little bit harder. And but I've born and bred in the bush, so I know what the locals think, and they'd rather have a bitumen road going up the Gibb River Road than a bloody dirt road that shudders their vehicle to pieces every time they go down to Derby or across the Kununurra. Well,
exactly, and for those ones that actual people are using to get to travel on, that's probably a little bit different. But I think it's the challenge to find those tracks that take you somewhere good, maybe a scenic lookout or something like that. But it's difficult to get to, difficult to drive. You've got to have some technical expertise.
Yeah. Look, that's true. And I guess, as roads, we've been going to Northwest Cape and Coral Bay and all that sort of stuff. I think I went there the first time, 1977. And Coral Bay and all that sort of stuff. There was only just dirt tracks into them and a dirt track along the coast and all that sort of stuff. And we camped up there and camped on the beaches, and we were the only ones around and all that sort of stuff. there's a few people at Coral Bay, of course. There's a pub there and all that sort of stuff. But today, there's hundreds of people, Bitchman Road, from Exmouth down to Yardie Creek, and designated campsites and all that sort of thing. But maybe that's a bit of our doing because we keep talking about these places or keep writing about them and doing guidebooks or writing on the web or on our Facebook page how good they are, and people want to go and see them. So, that's probably a bit of our fault. No, I love seeing people out there, seeing this country and enjoying it and doing those sorts of things.
My thing is, I think it's part of living in Australia. We live in a free country. We should be free to explore all of the amazing places that we've got in it. And this is why I think track openings and closures is such a big drama, because like in New South Wales, you feel sorry for the guys in New South Wales. There's not that many places they can go driving. Yeah,
look, I mean, New South Wales is pretty restrictive. They haven't got many tracks that they can close in winter. So because they've closed so many already and closed full time, but that's a government decision. I just spent 3 years on the government advisory board for Victorian High Country, and that's my second stint on it. I was on it about 25 years ago, and I've just finished again. So. There's an awful lot of pressures on different places on the high country, and management is the thing. Management's the key, and good management takes time and effort and money and all that sort of stuff, and staff. And so we've got to keep pushing for our public land to be managed better, and whatever that may be, whether that's feral animals or feral weeds or access or whatever it may be. But we just got to keep pushing for a better deal for our public land.
Exactly. Do you see a way forward there? Do you think that there's a way that we can get track openings happening? Because otherwise we're going to have too many people driving too many four-wheel drives on too few tracks. I think that's that's the worry.
Yeah. Well, I guess that is of a concern, and I think the Victorian Four-Wheel Drive Association is probably leading the way and all that. I think its idea of track classification is a good one, not only to let people know how good or bad a track generally is, and it's only a general guide. Double black diamond tracks, for instance, is you're supposed to be experienced and have low range and high clearance and double diff locks and carry a winch and all those sorts of things. Now, you can go up onto the high country and you'll find some single black diamond tracks, as hard as ever, as hard as a double black diamond can be, and you can find a double black diamond track that probably should be a single black diamond track. But, the tracks will vary from year to year and depending on people and rain and erosion and all that sort of stuff when the last maintenance is called. But they at least telling people not only what the track is like, but they're also maintaining the track at that level. So they can go, and we've got the working relationship with the government to say, well, look, that track is a black diamond track, has been a black diamond track for the last 20 years. We want it to stay as a black diamond track. We don't want it upgraded to, a blue circle track, which is easy.
Yep.
So that's a step in the right direction. I think they're doing a pretty good deal on that. I think the other state organisations have a bit to learn from that. And, there's no denying that the association gets government funding and all that, and I think that would be the only four-wheel drive association in Australia that gets government funding. So that just shows you how highly regarded they are by governments of different ilk.
One of my theories is that if you look at a place like Talbotville, so you've been to Talbotville a few times, I dare say?
Yeah. I was only there sort of last weekend, I'd say.
There you go. I thought that was a fairly safe question. The difference between Talbotville and somewhere like Walhalla is the fact that the four-wheel drivers go through. If we couldn't go four-wheel driving around the tracks around Walhalla, then we'd stop going there, and then, the pub would close, and that would slowly just die off. And my grandkids or my grandkids' kids, they'll go in there and they'll say, we had descendants who used to come here and there used to be a pub here. The pub was right here.
Yeah, look. I guess it's a double-edged sword and all that sort of stuff. And roads will improve, and bitumen roads will get pushed through, and we probably won't like it. That'll make us, maybe go to that town and fill up with fuel and then head off to another place or whatever it may be. But I don't think you can stop that, and I don't think you can stop that with growing population and all those sorts of things, and a more affluent population with people driving around in cars. It's one of those things. I think we've got a long way to go before we end up like America, and America has still got some great forward driving and touring, and so I look at that and think, well, they've done a pretty good job there, or whatever, through their park or through the high country or whatever. So I'm probably a little bit more optimistic than pessimistic.
Well, my thinking is, though, that if they cut the access to the tracks off, then the four-wheel drivers will stop going there. Like, a better road in is a good thing.
Yeah, that's probably true, but that's not happening, certainly not happening in Victoria to any great degree. And in fact, the years of mass track closures happened back in the 70s and 80s, and it's been relatively stable ever since. And you can say the same thing about New South Wales, but they had a huge lot of closures and haven't really regained anything since those days.
Yeah. And so what's access like in the US? Is it pretty much free, or do you pay a fee to get into the park and then you're good to go?
Well, I mean, their national park system is really national, so instead of state-based, so that's a huge difference. They also, in the west of the United States, they have a lot of land owned by the Bureau of Land Management, which is available for people to tour on and all that sort of stuff. And if you have to pay, it's only a minimal sort of pay. And the National Forest Scheme is exactly that. It's a National Forest Scheme, not a state-based scheme. And so you get relatively cheap camping. I mean, I was only looking at one of the national forests in the United States, which butt up to Grand Tetons National Park. The Grand Tetons National Park is one of the spectacular places of the world.
Yep.
And butting up to that is Bridge of Teton National Forest. And there's these campgrounds along the Snake River, which is a fabulous, fabulous river. And, just a beautiful mountain river, probably twice the size of our Murray River and at Gee High. And you can camp along that at selected spots, and it costs you $10 a night, So it's really, it's quite good. And that's the places we search out when we're over there.
It's, Grand Tetons is a truly spectacular place. I'd love to go there one day. And it's just, they're so lucky to be able to have such free and easy access to it.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal. And BLM land is cheaper again than the National Forest. I mean, national parks, if you go to Grand Canyon, you might be up for $30 a night or something to camp.
Yep.
But there's a lot of national parks that are a lot cheaper than that. In national forests, they're either free or $5 or $10 a night or something like that. So we're having a bit of a problem with national parks here in Victoria, and we've got to go down to Wilson's Prom for a couple of days, last week sort of thing. And to camp at Tidal River at $60 a night for an unpowered site. Now, I just balk at that and I go, you can stick that. I'm not going down there for 3 or 4 nights unpowered and get charged $60 a night for the privilege. So I think there are a lot of places around Australia that are expensive and are too expensive in our national park. And also, I do not absolutely hate the web-based booking systems that are coming in and have come in. It's just wrong and it stinks.
Yep. There's so many people who go four-wheel driving camping because it's what they can afford. So that's their family time, because they can't afford to, go to Bali or go to the Gold Coast or something like that. $60 a night?
Well, and I think it's more than that. I think it's more the way we travel and the way we tour. We might head up the Strzelecki track or through the Flinders Ranges and we go, we'll go to Wilpena. We might get there tonight. We'll be there tomorrow night, and if it's good, we'll stay another night. But you're supposed to book all this in advance, and it just doesn't suit four-wheel drive touring, or even the grey nomads with a van on the back and who want to travel up through northern Australia. It just doesn't suit the way they travel, of being free and easy, and getting to a place and finding out about another spot just up the road that they hadn't heard of when they were back in Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth, and going out there and stopping there. And this web-based booking system that you've got to book before you get there is just bull. And it's just been set up by people who live in the cities, work in the cities, and who haven't got off their shiny butts to go out and talk to people in the campgrounds, whether that's in the Victorian High Country or up at Flinders Ranges National Park, or up in the Kimbleys and at Bungle Bungles.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Ron. I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about a lot of four-wheel driving. So, thank you very much. And, maybe we'll talk sometime. You're heading off on a trip, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm going off to go filming next week for a couple of weeks up north of Broken Hill, up to Cooper's Creek and that sort of thing. And we're back from there, and then we head to North America. And then after that, we'll be in China and Uzbekistan. So, and then we'll get back to Australia in early November, and we'll go off four-wheel drive car testing, I would say, then, and doing a few things for the magazines that I write on.
You are living the dream, aren't you?
Oh, dear. Yeah, well, it's been pretty good. I mean, we've been doing it for full time now for 35 years. So, I've been pretty lucky. But we've worked hard at it.
Yeah. I'm sure you've glossed over all of the bits that aren't quite that easy. But thank you for sharing all of your experiences. It's really interesting, fascinating.
No worries, mate. Okay, let us know when you put it up.
I will. All right. Thanks, mate.
Okay, mate. Thanks, pal.
Wow, how lucky is Ron? He literally does have an amazing job. I would love to be able to travel the world and to do some of the amazing four-wheel driving. Definitely on my bucket list to do some four-wheel driving in New Zealand. I would love to be able to do the Rubicon Trail. I think that would be completely amazing. I don't know if I'd really want to do some of that technical, crazy-ass stuff that they do in the United States, but I would love to see some of it. And South America. So as I said, I've been there before. An amazing place, very, very picturesque, and there would be some amazing four-wheel driving down there. So that's about it. I hope to see you out there on the track someday. Bye.
4x4earth.com is used by over 200,000 people every month to find great tracks, organise trips, and find out how to better enjoy exploring the great outdoors. There's over 1,000 tracks and 300 campsites ready for you to explore. So check out 4x4earth.com today and sign up to get access to the track information, ask questions, and meet other 4x4 Earthers. Membership is completely free. If you're looking for a good route, check out 4x4earth.com today.